Let's look at how the biggest stories of the year connect. First of all, the cost of living. Because prices are going up sharply, inflation in the UK is over 10%.
Well, we've been hit by a very severe shock, and that shock is coming through energy prices, I'm afraid.
And the Bank of England is clear on the cause and the consequence.
We've got to be blunt about this. It's coming from the actions of Russia. And I'm afraid, as you say, yes, we are forecasting a recession now.
And this impact connects to Russian gas. It's exported across Europe, but one key pipeline is currently shut for what Moscow calls maintenance. France, though, says Russia is using gas as a weapon of war. And with doubts about supply, energy prices are up. So are food prices. Ukraine's a major exporter of wheat. Wheat prices are up 25% since last year. But Russia alone isn't causing the cost of living crisis. There's climate change too.
The fundamental issue that we've got of increased frequency and increased severity of these severe weather events is a result of climate change.
At the moment, there's a drought in Europe, and droughts mean lower food production. For example, the EU's sunflower harvest is forecast to fall, which will force up the cost of cooking oil. Droughts also affect electricity production from dams. That's happening in China, which means more electricity will have to come from coal, which in turn means more emissions that cause climate change. And the war in Ukraine may affect emissions too. That's because Europe's desire to get off Russian energy may see countries increase other fossil fuel use in the short term. In the long term, though, it may drive a faster shift to renewables. And so climate change, the war, and the cost of living connect in different ways. COVID is connected too. Because as COVID restrictions ended around the world, increased demand pushed up energy and food costs. COVID also caused labour shortages, something that was exacerbated in the UK by Brexit. These labour shortages drove up costs in many ways, one being disruption of the global supply chain. Now, that's the system that allows us to produce and buy goods from far and wide. For decades, it's helped keep prices down. But when COVID put it under pressure, businesses felt the difference.
Costs are rocketing. This year, we'll see about a £6 million bill on shipping, and we're having to pass that on to our customers.
Which means more pressure on prices. And COVID's impact on the supply chain connects to another story, China's growing power. Because of all the goods made in the world, 29% come from China. And that's driven rapid economic growth and demand for more and more energy. Now, much of that energy China produces itself. Not all, though. And in June, Russia became China's top supplier of crude oil. And so China's growth, which in part rests on Western consumption, is now making it harder for the West to isolate Russia economically. There's more too, because Chinese growth is also funding its military. These are recent drills near the self-governing island of Taiwan, which China claims as its own. America condemned these drills as China knew it would. And so, in their very different ways, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are testing the West and the limits of its global influence. If we step back, what's at stake is the world order of the 21st century, all of which and more awaits whoever becomes the UK's next Prime Minister.
My plan is the right plan, to tackle inflation, to compassionately support those who most need our help.
What we can't have is business as usual. We need to be bold and we need to do things differently.
And so the cost of living crisis means many people need urgent help. It also, though, connects to fundamental questions about how we organise our world and treat our planet.